Good morning, everyone. Today is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. That day we remember the unimaginable tragedy of the murder of 6 million innocent Jews, men, women, and children. I would like to share 6 facts in memory of the 6 million that we must remember today on Yom HaShoah and every single day of the year. The first thing is we should understand that this is a tragedy beyond any human imaginable proportions. If you were to observe a moment of silence for every one of the 6 million Jews that was murdered, 60 seconds for each Jew consecutively, you would have to be quiet for 12 years consecutively, day and night, 365 days of the year. Second thing we should remember on Yom HaShoah, in memory of the 6 million, is that we often think that murderers are crazy, insane people. At the Wannsee Conference in 1942, there were 15 high-ranking ministers of the German government. 8 of them held PhDs, well-educated people, and they unanimously voted for the final solution of the Jewish people. The third fact we should remember is that they didn't just target Jews in their own country. They sought the annihilation of an entire race, an entire nation, entire people, most of whom did not live within Germany. A matter of fact, in the documents that were discovered, they even had a plan to kill the 200 Jews who lived in the Albanian Jewish community. It was like Haman, a desire to eradicate an entire nation from the face of the earth. The fourth fact we have to remember is that the world did not intervene. Yes, of course, at the end of the war, they liberated it, the camps, but the Allied forces fought against the Nazis. But for years, they allowed the mass murder of Jews to go on, even though there was opportunities to bomb the railroad tracks to the camps and even the mass killing machines of the concentration camps. The next fact we have to remember is that they were so irrational in their hatred that they even put killing Jews before their own interest. As the Nazis were losing the war, they continued to spend money on killing Jews, even though it went against their own interests of winning the war. That's how far their blind hatred of Jews was. And these facts are so important to remember, not just today, but every single day, because as our generation is losing those remaining Holocaust survivors and Holocaust denial continues to grow, who will be here to remind the world when our survivors are no longer here? And as we see the rise in anti-Semitism today, more than ever, every Jew must partake in the commandment of Zachor, of remembering what happened to our people in this generation and in all generations. Last night in Israel, there was a memorial where 6 Holocaust survivors lit 6 torches at Yad Vashem. And one of them was a woman 90 years old. Her name is Tova Gutstein. And the word Tova means good in Hebrew and Gutstein means good in Yiddish. A wonderful, beautiful Jewish woman, 90 years old. And she was joined by her 3 children, her 8 grandchildren, and her 13 great-grandchildren. Tova is a symbol of the Jewish people. She was born in 1933, the very same year that Hitler rose to power. And she lived in Warsaw, Poland, when the 320,000 Jews, who made up 30% of the population in 1939, when the Nazis invaded Poland, put all the Jews in the Jewish ghetto, the Warsaw Ghetto, which was 2.4% of the territory of Warsaw, and 30% of the population of Warsaw was put in there. In the height of the Warsaw Ghetto in 1941, every 9 minutes a Jew died from disease, sickness, and starvation. Her father was sent off to the concentration camps, never to be seen again. Tova said all they thought about morning, afternoon, and evening was food. And as little kids, they would crawl through the sewage system. Many wouldn't survive, but they would go out and look for food in the fields and bring it back to their families. On the eve of Passover, 80 years ago, on the holiday of Passover, April 18th, 1943, the Germans came to liquidate the final 60,000 Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto after having already deported 265,000 Jews to their deaths. And the remaining Jews decided to fight till the end. And they staged an uprising and fought against the Nazis, killing many Nazis. And for an entire month, they showed a resistance and a courage for self-defense that lives on as a legacy till today and as an inspiration to the consciousness of the Jewish people and the state of Israel, that Jews will not go down silently. We will fight for our rights to live as a free nation. We will fight for justice and for goodness. And tragically, after a month, after Jews fighting in the bunkers in the concentration in the Warsaw Ghetto, the Nazis finally defeated and conquered the Warsaw Ghetto. But little Tova Gutstein, who was 10 years old, managed to crawl out of the ghetto through the sewage system and made it to the forests, where she lived with a group of Jewish partisans for 2 years until the end of the war. 2 years later, she went to Israel at the age of 12. She grew up in Palestine, starting in 1947, married and built a beautiful family. And last night, at the age of 90, this 10-year-old girl who escaped the Warsaw Ghetto stood with her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren as a symbol of the eternity of the Jewish people, the defeat of evil and the victory of righteousness and goodness. This is our story. Let's carry our torch proudly and loudly, and let us defeat all evil in our present-day generation by carrying the memory of the heroism, the courage, and the sacrifice of the 6 million and the millions more who survived. Have a meaningful day, and most importantly, do an extra mitzvah today, whatever it may be, in loving memory of the 6 million beautiful souls who were murdered so brutally. Have a meaningful Yom HaShoah.